Nobody.
Buddy, did you agree with that? Sorry, Coach.
Coach Allen, it's great to see you. We see each other once every couple of years, and I'm honored and privileged to have a chance to say thank you. 93 years old.
93 years old.
Took some suggestions from guys around the county. Number one, Coach Allen. At 93 years old, is it true that you can still kick the crap out of everybody in this room?
No, but I'll give it a try.
You wore number 20 during your coaching years. Was it always 20, and if so, why number 20?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know why I got 20. I remember being 10 football in high school, 35 in basketball. I forget what my number in baseball. I don't know why I took 20. I just took a liking to it, I guess.
Worked well for most of us.
I stayed with it, and I enjoyed that number.
Good.
Thank you.
Get a lot of. Question number 3. You grew up, you were born in the 1920s, is that correct?
Whoa, not that. No. You're right.
All right.
1928.
1928. And the next year the stock market crashed.
That's right.
Okay. But you were a child during the Depression years, grew up in Oakland, came of age probably during the war years and kind of had your athletic best in the 1940s.
Correct.
During those years, who were great influences on you, whether it be in sports or in your life? Who were some of the great influences of your young life?
Well, let me put it this way. The first big influence in athletics was a young man that lived next door. His name was Martin Toll. He played basketball at the high school I went to, St. Elizabeth's. And he was just great. And I remember coming into my mother when I was maybe in the 8th grade or something and saying, you know what, Mom, I'm never going to be as good as Martin Toll. And my mother said to me, you can be better if you want. And that was kind of the start of everything. That he was just a great basketball player. School I went to was basically a small Catholic high school. I think we had about 350 students, but we played all the big schools in the city of Oakland. There were 2 divisions. There was the Oakland City schools and then the county schools. And if we would play them, we wouldn't play too many of them in football. We didn't have that many numbers, but we were okay. Basketball, we were sensational. The league was a real good basketball league. St. Mary's of Berkeley, St. Joseph's of Alameda, St. James. San Francisco isn't there anymore. That's now reopened. So it was good. But the one coach that influenced me the most was a gentleman that was not my high school coach. He was a coach at Roosevelt High School in Oakland. His name was Tommy Fitzpatrick. And I remember as a 7th grader going up to Roosevelt High School, and he would have the guys take their cars and turn the lights on their cars and shine them on the practice football field so they could continue to practice. He was a go-getter. But I'm going to tell you this, I want to explain something to you. You know, you can be embarrassed in your life and never get better. Or you can get embarrassed and say, I'm not going to let that happen again.
Right.
And what happened to me, I'll never forget this. They used to have at the end of every baseball season, years ago, what they would call an All-American Boys game, baseball game. The East Bay versus the West Bay, San Francisco and Marin County. There were a couple of Marin County kids from TAM that played the year that I played. Played at an old Seal Stadium, which held maybe, I don't know, 9,000 to 10,000 people. Place is packed. I got my girlfriend, came in my car, sitting there, and I'm a catcher. On our team, on our All-Star team, we had two pitchers. We had Frank Ferroni, and we had Jimmy Jones. we had a guy named Ferresi, Don Ferresi from Alcalanes High School. Had the best curveball I've ever seen. None better. He ended up playing with the Baltimore Orioles. And we had another guy from our league, from St. Mary's, named Jim Figueroa, who had thrown 4 no-hitters in high school, which was unheard of. But we got a guy right here that did the same thing. So we're playing in Steel Stadium, and in the practices, I used to catch Figueroa. And Eddie Leneve, the other catcher from Berkeley, would catch Ferresi. Well, before the start of the game, Tommy Fitzpatrick, the guy that I loved, that I looked up to, was the coach, and he said, "Go down to the bullpen, I'm going to start you in Ferresi." And I looked at him, I didn't say anything, I never caught him. I go down to the bullpen, and I still didn't catch him. So there I am, Seal Stadium, game starts, first inning we get through. I think it was the third inning. Third inning, they get a guy at first base. I put down fastball. Ferresi shakes me off. Put down curveball, yes. Whoops! All the way back to the backstop, guy goes to second base. Fastball. Next pitch, he wants curveball again. Pass ball number 2. Guy goes to third base. Curveball again. This is a true story. Goes to the backstop, guy scores. Now I hear this guy in the dugout whistling. And I look over, and it's Tommy Fitzpatrick, the coach, and he's going. And I go, I'm looking again, and he goes, I don't know what to do. He wants me out of the game, but he doesn't come out there to get me. So I take off the chest protector, I put it on home plate, I take off the shin guards, put it on home plate, take off the mask, put it on home plate, and walk to the dugout. Probably the biggest ovation I've ever gotten. On the other hand, it was really, really embarrassing. I mean, it took me a while to get over it. I really mean that. But it was a good lesson for me. And I learned it early. And I hope that I was able to teach it to you guys. That you can look bad one day, shake it off, you're going to be okay the next day. That's the way it is. Life is that way, fellas. Even as you are today, you're going to have a lot of bumps, but you're going to have a lot of high times too.
All right, thanks, Coach Allen. So much for questions 2 through 11. Coach Al, what was your most memorable game as an athlete or coach?
Probably the first game I played with the 49ers.
Tell us about it.
Well,
Kezar?
we played in Kezar Stadium. It was the first game that I was playing in. We had already played 2. We were playing the Detroit team. And they had a fellow by the name of Buddy Young that played at the University of Illinois. Could run like a deer. And they put me in. The only way I got in the game, my roommate, Don Burke, said to me, this is how pro football was in those days. We're going to kick off, and he comes over and he says, run down for me. On a kickoff. Oh, okay, that's how I got in the game. I said, well, where are you? He said, I'm right inside of the last guy on the line of scrimmage. I said, okay. So, and the coach didn't put me in. Don Burke put me in. He just come out. So in the game I go, they kick off, and one thing I could do, I couldn't run. So I told you, high school at the best, I ran 109.9 at one time. But normally I could run it 10 flat, 10 run. So off I go, the ball's kicked, and I'm running like hell. And here's Buddy Young, he's right there, as Jim Brown is, and I'm going like hell. He catches the ball one step, I run right by him, and he goes the other way. So here I am running this end zone, and he ran the other way. But the biggest thrill was coming off the field. All these people like Kezar used to be able to come down the field. I spent more time standing there signing autographs than I did anything else.
All right, next question. Is it true Y.A. Tittle kicked your ass after that bad kickoff play?
Well, no, Frankie Albert was in on that play.
All right, you covered it as a player. What was your most memorable game as a coach?
Any game from 1958 to 1981.
Okay, I vote for the game against Taiwan in 1977.
That was a privilege. That was a great game.
Who came up with the Chinese flag? What was that concept? Is that you?
Well, nobody on the team came up with it.
Well, I know, but I was wondering if there's a story behind it.
No more stories. No, I just, I guess in practice one day I saw something happen, and I said, maybe this will work. So it did.
Oh, we were talking about it the other day. We know that Cam Garrett was the bait on second base. Who's the guy that came in and scored? Anybody remember?
No.
Zanino.
Was it Zanino?
Yeah.
Okay, Howard knew it. Okay, we're moving on. Coach Al, who would play you in the movies?
George Clooney.
You can be young or old, the same still very
Travolta.
John Travolta.
The Hustle.
No.
All right, Coach Al, in the buddy comedy, who would play Jimmy Jones and who would play Steve Companion?
In the movies? Charlie Chaplin would play Steve Companion. Charlie Chaplin. Jimmy Jones would be. Let me think.
Richard Simmons.
That's a tough one. I don't know who's
You did take a poll on that, and half right, Charlie Chaplin would play Steve Companion. The Rock would play Coach Al, full of possibilities here. Who was your best opponent, opposing player that you can recall all time? Coach in Redwood, who was the best opponent that you played against?
the best.
I mean, a couple hours.
Say, they didn't play against us in the league or any time.
Whoever comes to mind, it might be good to put in something in this room.
Yeah. You want me to say Mr. Keating?
You got your claws, Dennis. Now, who was it really?
He's filming. You can't take it away from him. He's filming right now.
No, he could hit. Ask Jimmy Jones. I think he hit one pretty good off of Mr. Jones.
I think there still needs to be shingles taken off that shank.
Yeah, he was. Okay. How are we?
Jonesy, I was watching.
Okay, I guess by default, Al's getting tired. Here we go.
The audience is getting tired, not me.
Coach Al, how in the hell did you end up coaching the French Olympic team?
Well, that was the end of my. I'm sorry I took the job in a way, because I still think I could coach. I know in this day and age, I'd be fired after 3 days by a group of parents or someone. I wouldn't last. But I was at the national convention that Michael's going to in Jim. Every year there's a convention of all the college baseball coaches. I've been in that organization for 54 years. So I went back to a real small group every year. So that's why I learned a lot of the stuff that I did at Redwood. My last year, I was at college in Marin, that was 1997. And I went to the convention, and when I got there, somebody came up to me and said, I understand that you may be retiring. Well, I didn't know anything.
Yes.
And I said, why is that? He said, well, if you are, I think I have a good job for you. I said, really? And he said, can you meet me at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning in the coffee shop here in the last coffee? So I said, okay. And Tom Arrington was with me. He was a Redwood player who was also my pitching coach at College of Marin at the time. And I said to Tommy, I said, Tom, would you be willing to take over the team if something happens? And he said, certainly. So this guy got me down there, and himself and another guy that spoke French, and I spoke it fluently. Yeah, I really did. But, yes, this young single player. Where's the check? So
I said Jones.
I meet this French guy, and he said, we're looking for somebody to coach our national team, trying to qualify for the Olympics in Australia in 2000. 2000. And they told me the story. It was great. They gave us an apartment. My wife and I, we lived in Paris, free apartment. I think they paid me $4,000. That was $4,000 American money a month. But I didn't have to spend anything because I had a blank check as far as food went. All I would do was turn in the bill to them, and they would reimburse me. And I had carte blanche to fly all over France to pick up players. So it was great. And those guys who played for me, I've had entertained after that team here at our home. It was great. I loved it. The first game we played what they call the International Cup in Barcelona, Spain, and we opened with the Cubans. So that was a thrill. So we were playing all these international teams. So it was good. But I had to give up the job at College of Marin, and when I came home, Tommy was coaching it. And that was kind of the end of my coaching career.
Conspiracy by Tommy Arrington.
Exactly.
If you know who James Lipton is, I think you will appreciate this. Coach Al, what's your favorite curse word?
I don't curse. No, that's bad language. I don't mean that. Not at all.
I God damn it, Jerry all the time.
I always thought it was Morrison! All right, our 20th final question, Coach Al. Anything you would do differently?
No, I always feel that the good Lord has a path for me to lead in this life. And I believe it. I'm enjoying it. I enjoyed everything I did. I'd not change a bit. Really, all those guys that played for me.
I just want to say to you guys, certainly for all of us, thanks for taking some time.
Thank you. And before I leave, I would really like to congratulate you, huge. And thanks again. Thanks for all you do in the players.
Get up! Stand up, everybody! Come on! Woo!
I just want to finish by saying thank you for enduring that. I've just moved to the top of the list of the guys Coach Allison asked me.
Hold on.